This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Shohei Ohtani is pitching for the Dodgers on Monday, and that's exciting.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Locked On Dodgers because we're here for you. This is the daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing, get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are here on Sunday night. If this is your first time listening, watching, welcome. I'm Vince Samperio, usually joined by Jeff Snyder, but he's out today. It's just me. Jeff and I have been lifelong Dodger fans, and we've covered the team in our own ways for over a decade. We've been doing this podcast since 2019, so there's a lot to get into for the Dodgers because Shohei Ohtani will be the starting pitcher on Monday night at Dodger Stadium against the San Diego Padres. We're going to talk all about that for sure. Overshadowing the fact that the Dodgers won a series against the Giants over the weekend, overshadowing the fact that the Giants made a big trade and now look like they could stick around in the NL West race for a little bit. We're going to talk about that. Roki Sasaki, what's going on? It seems weird. It sounds confusing. And Andy Pages deserves some flowers. We're going to talk about all that stuff. But we're going to start with Shohei Ohtani, who it was a stream of news after the game ended on Sunday. Dave Roberts said there was, depending who you follow or which beat writer, high probability or high possibility that Shohei Ohtani would pitch this week after they hadn't really said anything other than he was going to pitch in maybe July. There was a report from Carl Ravitch that before the game that Ohtani could pitch this week, but nobody else really had anything beyond that. So, we went about our day. The Dodgers won the series. And then after the game, Dave Roberts said that, Shohei Ohtani would probably pitch in one of the games this week against the Padres. And then that turned into Shohei Ohtani will pitch and start on Monday at Dodger Stadium. Now, he's more of an opener role than an actual starter. He's only expected to go 1 to 2 innings, I would imagine, depending on pitch count. Regardless of all that, this is exciting. I mean, this is when the Dodgers got Shohei Ohtani, when they signed him, obviously the hitting was a big part of it and has been very, very fun to watch. But, the unicorn that is Shohei Ohtani is the fact that he can hit and he can pitch. And we have yet to see him pitch in Dodger blue in the actual game. And that's going to change on Monday. And, there's going to be people that already don't want Ohtani to pitch at all during the season. There's going to be people that don't want Ohtani to pitch right now. Like, maybe he's not ready. There's going to be a lot of people feeling different ways about this. But for me, the one feeling is excitement. And it's exciting to see Shohei Ohtani. It's really seemed like he's the one that's been pushing for this. We know that, last weekend they asked him after the Sunday night game or after one of the games, I don't know. They asked him, like, when are you going to pitch? And he said, I don't know, ask Andrew Friedman. He might have a better idea. That he wants to pitch. And with a guy like Shohei Ohtani, you might think, well, what's the point of putting him out there, right now against the Padres, against a team that has, good hitters in the lineup. If it's only 1 to 2 innings, blah, blah. This is how Shohei Ohtani has to get his rehab assignments in. He can throw simulated games up and down, but he's not going to be able to go on rehab assignment because the Dodgers needs bat in the lineup. And why not start it now? In reality, if he was just a pitcher, he'd be pitching for OKC or for Ranch Cucamonga tomorrow, and then, he'd progress from there. But he doesn't have that luxury, if you want to call it that, for him. But this is how he has it. And with the Dodgers, they're not losing anything because Shohei Ohtani is an extra pitcher. They're going to keep all the pitchers they had on Sunday, they're going to have, or maybe they changed, but either way, the amount of pitchers they had on Sunday is going to be the same amount of pitchers they had on Monday, except now they have Shohei Ohtani as an extra guy, and that's huge. There's a question here about will he bat tomorrow. Dave Roberts said he's going to hit when he pitches. And with the Ohtani rule, he's able to start the game pitching and hitting. And when he comes out of pitching, he can still stay in the game hitting. So no worries there. But yeah, it's, again, we are always going to temper expectations. Shohei Ohtani could go out tomorrow and not make it out of the first inning. Shohei Ohtani could go out tomorrow and throw 2 perfect innings. Nothing is going to show us anything more other than him being healthy the next day. His arm's still intact, his elbow's still intact, everything's still intact. So that's the big part of it there is the health. The Dodgers are, whether you believe they do or don't have the luxury of being able to, punt games or try out things during games. This is one of those things. And it works out. It works out for the Dodgers. Ben Casparius was set to throw. On Monday. And, they know that he was going to start getting stretched out. He's not completely stretched out, though. So why not give him an opener of Shohei Ohtani? And why not, have Ben Casparius come in after him? And, the Dodgers can maybe knock down 6 innings that way. And that would be huge because, like I said, the Dodgers are going to have the same amount of pitchers on the pitching staff on Sunday as they will on Monday. So it's just a benefit for them to get Ohtani back, to take down some innings, even if it's only 1 to 2 innings, 1 to 2 to 3 innings for the first few times he pitches. That's still innings that they are getting for free, basically. They're getting it without anything getting lost off the roster. Now, there's a lot of different things with Ohtani. If he starts focusing on pitching now, will his hitting go down? It's possible, but he hit and pitched with the Angels, and he was still one of the best hitters in baseball and was one of the best pitchers in baseball. And that kind of makes me want to go back to look at what Ohtani was before on the mound. And, he hasn't pitched since 2023. In 2023, he was up to 132 innings before he got hurt, and he was very good. He had a 3.14 ERA. Maybe he pitched a little bit over his head, I guess, the FIP of 4. But he might have been having some arm pain at some point. It doesn't always just come in one start. So that's possible. But this is a guy that has thrown the last 3 full years he's pitched. It was 130 innings, 166 innings, 132 innings, 3.18 ERA, 2.33 ERA, 3.14 ERA. Strikeout rates of 29%, 33%, and 31.5%. Opponent's batting average around 200 or under 200. A whip just 1.09, 1.01, 1.06. Like, this is a guy that is a legitimately, elite arm. Now he's coming off surgery. He's coming off a second Tommy John or second elbow procedure. They didn't necessarily call it a Tommy John. So yes, there are not a lot of cases of success from this recovery right away. And even in general, there's not a lot of guys coming back from second Tommy John of having success in general, but right away, even less so. We saw Walker Buehler last year, not till October did he really find his bearings, and that might have been just pure adrenaline. We've seen Nathan Eovaldi really be, craft himself and continue to be a really good pitcher. But there's not much beyond that. There's, I'm sure there's some relievers. There's some guys that made comebacks, but it's, we don't know what to expect. What we do know what to expect is Shohei Ohtani on the mound. And I guess I don't want to say we don't know what to expect, but we don't know what we're going to get, because the Ohtani that we've seen so far throwing in these simulated games, the stuff looks nasty. And yeah, there's the last time he pitched, it was against minor league hitters, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about how the stuff's moving, how the stuff's playing. He was up to mid 90s with the fastball. I'm sure I'm sure that first fastball tomorrow is going to be touching 97. Easy. Just pure adrenaline. We're going to see some movement and with him right now as an opener, going only 1 to 2 innings, he can throw the kitchen sink. So he can mix it up and throw a lot of different things. All in all, man, it's just exciting. We're going to see Shohei Ohtani on the mound. It's going to be against the Padres. It's going to be crazy. I'm sure ticket prices skyrocketed once the announcement was made, which I'm sure is why the Dodgers made the announcement on Sunday a little bit after the game ended. And there's not much else to say other than, hey, this is going to be fun. And even if it's not good, as long as he's healthy, it's still going to be fun because you can imagine that it's going to get better and better and better. Moving on, the Giants made a huge splash. They traded for Rafael Devers pretty much like 20 minutes before the game. But the Dodgers won the series. The Dodgers have now won back-to-back series against the two teams chasing them in the NL West. The Dodgers still got some juice even without all their pitching staff. So we're going to get into that. Make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table, and you don't want to leave money on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? And you probably went on to the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is important, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. If you are used to juggling two phones to keep business and personal calls separate, Open Phone solves that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like with the shared inbox. No more who's got this, what got this, things slipping through the cracks. And an AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss a customer again. Open Phone is offering Locked On Dodgers listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Well, thank you for making Locked On Dodgers one of the listens of your day. First listen, last listen, second listen, third listen, whatever it is. I know we're going late here on Sunday night. Shout out to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. The Dodgers got a win for you. Shohei Ohtani's pitching. And I guess if you're a Giants fan, you probably also had a good Father's Day, even though the Giants lost, because you added some thump to your lineup. We got Robert Murray put out a tweet around like 3:50 something, I want to say, before the game's at 4:10, saying breaking Devers to the Giants, and there was no follow-up from anyone for a little while. He followed up with what the actual trade was going to be. It's Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, and it ended up being two more prospects. Everyone started jumping on it after confirming Robert's report, and Kyle Harrison was supposed to start for the Giants on Sunday. He was actually warming up in the bullpen, and then the bullpen catcher left the bullpen, but there was no Kyle Harrison with him. The Giants ended up going with a pseudo bullpen game, and the Dodgers ended up winning that game. And there's not a lot to say. This isn't Locked On Giants. We're not going to talk about the impact of this in regards to, only going to talk about the impact of this in regards to the Dodgers. And the impact is the Dodgers are going to face Rafael Devers a lot more than they had expected this season. I personally don't think this makes the Giants a factor against the Dodgers in terms of winning the West. I definitely think it puts them firmly in the spot of one of the top, fighting for the top wild card spot, and it makes them better. They lost, two pitchers. Their pitching has been okay. Maybe they'll go after some pitchers now. They didn't have to give up much. They took on all of Devers' contract. They'll worry about that on the back end. But they add some thump to the middle of their lineup. I'm sure Devers is happy. That it seemed like there was strained relations over there in Boston. So if anything, it makes the NL West more fun, and I'm fine with that because one, it's fun right now because the Dodgers are on top, and the Dodgers just won back-to-back series against the Padres and Giants, and I still think the Dodgers are the best team, and other teams can make more deals and try to fix that, but that remains to be seen. But let's talk about the Dodgers because they weren't the biggest headlines on Sunday, but they still won the game, and they ended up winning the series after losing on Friday, getting shut down by Logan Webb. Yoshinobu Yamamoto had not great command, not a great outing, wasn't aided by the umpire's calls, but ultimately, you have to make adjustments if, even when the umpire is bad, and you have to make adjustments if you're not pitching well, or if your command's a little off, and Yamamoto just didn't have it. It was just a combination of a few things, but one of those, the main reason being he just was a little bit off. And when you're a little bit off with a team that is a little bit more patient, then sometimes things like that happen. And, he gives up a grand slam. So, and that was ultimately what did him in on Friday was the grand slam that he gave up to Casey Schmidt, I think his name is. But yeah, forget about Friday's game. Yamamoto, they asked Dave Roberts about the ERA difference when he has 6 days rest and when he has 5 days rest, and it's a stark difference. But Dave Roberts kind of said like the trial period or whatever wording he used is kind of over on that. We need him to start pitching better, and that's the case. Like, you're not going to be able to have 6 days off every time you pitch. You're going to have to throw on 5 days off sometimes, and that should be good enough. And maybe it's just a case of Yamamoto figuring out adjustments, whatever it is. But let's talk about Saturday's game, because Saturday's game, we got not quite peak vintage Clayton Kershaw, but we got Clayton Kershaw in the sense of dominating the San Francisco Giants. He went 7 shutout innings, struck out 5. He's sitting 12 away from 3,000 strikeouts now. And his career numbers against the Giants now are a 2 ERA in 61 games, 59 starts, 404 innings, 413 strikeouts, a whip of 0.915. He's thoroughly dominated the Giants up and down his entire career. Obviously, he's dominated a lot of teams up and down his entire career, but the Giants are the team he's faced the most. Yes, the most games and tied for most starts. So that's Clayton Kershaw against the Giants. We got to see it. He's had 2 really, really good starts now in a row. And, this is what we talked about with Clayton Kershaw. If the command could come back, he could still be a good MLB pitcher. The command was there. The last 2 starts, he's had it. He's been a good MLB pitcher. And he's, given the Dodgers exactly what they needed in those moments, especially the 7 innings. That was huge. The game got a little wonky at the end with Kike Hernandez trying to close out an 11-0 game. Miguel Rojas kind of doing what Miguel Rojas does sometimes, and they having to use Anthony Banda, but ultimately it all worked out. And then Sunday, Dustin May, again, not the sharpest stuff, and this might just be who Dustin May is at this point, which is fine for, obviously it's not fine when the Dodgers had him as their number 2 starter just based out of necessity, but it's finding the sense of what he's giving him and guys starting to come back. He gave him a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs. He did still walk a handful, not ideal. He did run into trouble. The inning he gave up the 3 runs was all with 2 outs. That's, pretty annoying, especially if one of those base runners was a hit by pitch. But yeah, I mean, the big story from these games is obviously the starting pitching in the wins, Kershaw and Dustin May, but also the offense. I mean, the Dodgers put up 11 runs on Saturday, put up 5 runs on Sunday, and it was huge. The 11 runs was, a team effort. Shohei Ohtani with 2 home runs, a bunch of guys getting on base, a bunch of guys knocking guys in. I mean, 2 RBI from Ohtani, 2 RBI from Betts. Yeah, 2 RBI from Teo, who homered in the 3rd straight game at that point. Max Muncy had 2 hits and scored 2 times. That was huge. And then Sunday, it was Andy Pages. And that's a good place to kind of end up on here, because Andy Pages hit the 3-run go-ahead home run. He had already hit a sac fly earlier in the game to put the Dodgers ahead 1-0. And Andy Pages has a legitimate all-star case and should realistically be an NL All-Star this year. So let's see why. Today's episode is brought to you by Supply House. Supply House is the site you need, made for the skilled trades. Whether you're plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. So you always talk to a real person, because you always want to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. then that's a free TradeMaster program. If you didn't hear, thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. And thank you for making Locked On Dodgers. I want to listen every day. I want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, an everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate those of you that listen or watch every day. If you're not an everydayer or this is your first time listening or watching, then come back. We'll be here for the rest of this week. And, the Dodgers play the Padres this week. If you haven't heard, Shohei Ohtani is pitching if you haven't heard. So why not come back and listen to Locked On Dodgers the rest of the week? And remember, you can always go beyond the podcast from Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Get text directly from us, keeping you up to date with the Dodgers, and join our exclusive Discord server, Talking Dodgers. And now let's talk about Andy Pages. We're going to talk about Roki Sasaki as well in this segment, but let's start off with Andy Pages. He had the big 3-run go-ahead home run on Sunday, and he has been – ironically, he hasn't been as hot this last week, but he's been hot the last 2 weeks. He's been hot the last 30 games. He's been – overall, his numbers on the season are great. 281, 320 on base, 800 OPS. He's scored 33 runs, 13 homers, 46 RBIs, 6 stolen bases in there, and very much improved defense. We used to talk, whenever we talked about Andy Pages, it would be about defense a lot of the time. And, obviously the offense wasn't quite there at the start of the season, but when he started picking it up on offense, he still wasn't having it on defense. But now defensively, he's playing a competent center field. He's playing an elite corner outfield. He's thrown out a handful of guys this year, and he's been fun to watch. And he has been an all-star candidate. And this is one of those things where just because Andy Pages has all-star numbers, just because he is a legitimate all-star candidate, just because he probably should be an all-star or should be an all-star, it doesn't mean he's always going to be an all-star. There's fan voting that takes away some spots. There's every team needs representation that takes away some spots. And there's just, sometimes there's just bigger names out there. Andy Pages is known in the Dodger community, but a more casual Dodger fan probably knows him. But a fan of some other team might not know him unless they've been personally victimized by him. But, you look at his baseball savant page, and the defense is pretty incredible. He has his fielding run values in the 97th percentile. His range outs above average is in the 96th percentile. His arm value is in the 98th percentile. His arm strength is in the 96th percentile. Offensively, he has, some good, some bad, and overall it's led to pretty good numbers for him. So, you'll take it. He's hitting the ball for base hits the other way. He's hitting the ball for power pulling, and he's been able to put it all together. And it's been really impressive to kind of see it happen in real time. Like it's Andy Pages. We were sending him down or talking about sending him down, a month into it because the defense was bad. The offense was really bad. And it just didn't seem like this was what they needed in the lineup at the moment. And there was the main reason he got the extended time was just mostly because there was nobody else down there. James Outman isn't that guy. And, they don't have any other guys that are close to major league ready. So he was going to stick it out, and the Dodgers were going to give him some time. And they gave him that time, and he worked it, and he's earned it, and he's earned, everything he's got so far. And if he ends up being named an all-star this year, he'd earned that. And I'm excited to see if that happens. I'm excited to see how he continues to progress because, I don't sky's the limit's a little tough. I don't know if Andy Pages can, become a legitimate MVP candidate one day, but a perennial all-star is legitimate. And at age 24, for the way he's been playing, the way he's improved, the way he's worked at it, base running, even been better. I don't remember him running into too many outs like he was early in the season. Just give him his flowers and give him his commendations and whatever else you want to give him. But shout out to Andy Pajes for doing the work, putting it in, for being better and for wanting to be better. And it's obviously served the Dodgers very well because he's a big part of them right now, of being able to do what they're doing and win these games when they don't have a lot of their starting pitchers, when they lost some of their relief pitchers, when some guys are slumping very bad that are in the lineup. Andy Pajes was able to pick that up and take it. So now we're going to talk about Roki Sasaki, another guy, a young player that kind of similar to the Tyler Glasnow situation a few weeks ago when Dave Roberts, kind of the way he worded it, made it seem like he was going to be shut down. And then Tyler Glasnow spoke and said, no, he just had a little bit of back soreness, but he's fine and he's going to start throwing. We got a little bit of that on Sunday as well, because before the game, this was the tweet from Fabian Ardaya on what Dave Roberts said. He said, Roki Sasaki has stopped throwing the last few days. Dave Roberts says Sasaki still doesn't feel comfortable with the shoulder, throwing with intensity. Won't go for new testing, but sure sounds like it's an if, not when he is back this year, from Roberts' comments. And Roberts did say, basically, he said the mindset should be we got to plan on life without him as far as this year. And then after the game, there's another tweet from Fabian Ardaya about Dave Roberts. He said, Dave Roberts sang a much different tune post-game here on Roki Sasaki. Quote, he's pain-free. When we start that build-up, it should be soon. He's already moving around. We all feel encouraged where he's at right now as far as the pain. So, I don't know, unless Sunday before the game there was something, and then during the game it magically, I don't know. It was kind of interesting. It was kind of weird. It was, the second time this has kind of happened with a pitcher recovering. So I don't know if there's just miscommunication. I don't want to say lost in translation. That's too easy to go to because they have interpreters. So yeah, maybe just a miscommunication or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, for Roki at this point, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to think about it. I don't know. The fact that they're not going to get new scans means that the scans that they have now are showing no structural damage. He still feels a little bit in the shoulder, I guess. It's not quite comfortable. Not ready to ramp it up yet. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a little bit odd. But for the Dodgers, what this means is nothing really. I mean, obviously you want to have as many healthy arms as possible, but also, with Yamamoto, and then if Glasnow comes back, and then if Snell comes back, and then, Ohtani works his way to a full-time starter, that's a full, rotation right there, not even counting Dustin May, not even counting Emmett Sheehan, not even counting, Ben Casparius, not even counting Tony Gonsolin. Obviously, some of those guys have to come back from injury, and some of those guys are in the rotation, are going to be in the rotation. But ultimately for the Dodgers, Roki Sasaki, if everyone's healthy, he's not in the playoff rotation and, could potentially not be on the playoff roster. But they don't, they can slow play it. They can do whatever. I know there's a lot of people thinking that surgery is coming now for Roki Sasaki because of just the mysterious wording and things around everything. They've never, I don't remember, and if they have, feel free to correct me, but I don't remember them ever actively saying nothing's wrong with this guy and then he gets surgery. It's kind of, we don't know yet, we don't blah, 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 or he's hurt and the first MRI came back, whatever it is. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens with Roki Sasaki. Maybe if these other guys start coming back healthy and the pressure is even low, like if Ohtani and Yamamoto are pitching and then the other guys, there's literally no pressure for Roki. So, I don't know if he's feeling any pressure, if he's feeling uncomfortable, you never know. We're not talking to this guy directly. We're not talking to Sasaki directly. We don't know exactly what's going on with him, but yeah, take your time, get back. If you don't get back, that's fine. If you do get back, that's fine. Work on whatever you need to work on. The Dodgers have him for a long time after this year, so and he's not critical to the team's success this year, other than the fact of a healthy arm is a healthy arm. So there was a lot to get into over the weekend. A lot of things we didn't get into. Guys that played well, guys that maybe didn't play well, but ultimately, the big news was Ohtani starting. The big news was the Dodgers winning the series. The big news is Andy Pages continues to be really good. And the big news is that the Dodgers got an opponent got a little bit more formidable in the NL West. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing. You can check out the Locked On MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Get local analysis on a national scale. Keep up to date with the rest of the league from all the Locked On hosts. So make sure to go check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Go beyond the podcast. Become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Get text directly from us, keeping you up to date with the Dodgers, and get an invite to our exclusive Discord server to talk Dodgers with other Dodger fans. Discord server was popping over the weekend, so you want to get in on this for sure. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. Text my device by podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.